Welcome to Sacrilegious Discourse.
For this is what the Sovereign Lord says.
Why do you need prophets to tell people who you are and what you want?
If you can justify everything that the God of the Bible has done, then you can justify any of your behavior.
A lot of this mentality is trickling into what is now mainstream right-wing Christianity.
I am capable of empathy greater than this God of the Bible.
This is a Bible that they tell kids. This is the good Lord. This is the good book. He is fantasizing about murder, mass murder.
Head over to sacrilegiousdiscourse.com right now to find out how to leave us a review or support us on Patreon.
Hey there, sinners and saints. It's your favorite Bible-bashing duo from Sacrilegious Discourse, and we need your help.
That's right, folks. We're raising funds for some heavenly equipment and a studio that doesn't sound like it's in the depths of hell.
Our current setup, let's just say it's more apocalypse than audiophile.
So if you want to hear us dissect the Bible without the background noise of demonic squirrels, chip in a few bucks.
We're aiming for $5,000 to upgrade our audio and build a studio worthy of blasphemous banter.
Donate today and help us spread the good word of atheism.
You can find a link right on our homepage, sacrilegiousdiscourse.com. Every dollar counts.
Even if it's from your collection plate.
Hey, this is Jonathan Fields, host of The Good Life Project. Today's sponsor, Boost Mobile, reminds me of what I love when someone reimagines what's possible. They have invested billions in building America's newest 5G network, becoming the country's fourth major carrier. They are doing things differently, offering a $25 monthly unlimited plan that never increases in price and letting you try their service risk-free for 30 days. With blazing fast 5G and plans for all the latest devices, they're changing the game. Visit your nearest Boost Mobile store or find them online at boostmobile.com.
At 1-800-Flowers.com, we know that connections are at the heart of being human. Whether celebrating life's joys or comforting during tough times, 1-800-Flowers helps you express what words can't. For nearly 50 years, millions have trusted 1-800-Flowers to deliver thoughtful gifts that help create lasting bonds. Because it's more than just a gift. It's your way of showing you care. Visit 1-800-Flowers.com/ACAST and connect today. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/ACAST.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous two-year contracts, they said, "What the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass?" So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
Husband!
Wife!
Do you know what we're doing today?
Well, we are right now live on Discord.
Sure as fuck are.
On a Wednesday.
At 10 p.m. Eastern?
Well, it's a little after 10 p.m. at this point.
It's actually 15 till 11, but who's counting?
But that means that we are doing our live Patreon episode right now.
Patreon. No,
Well,
this is our
actually,
bonus.
I'm sorry. Yeah, this is our bonus episode. Every other week is our live Patreon episode.
When we
so
are
everyone will
on
get to hear
schedule.
this one, but next week, you won't.
Correct.
Unless you're on our Discord or on Patreon.
Correct.
So, use this as a fair warning, and then join us on one of those places.
One of those places.
Yeah,
is where
either
you should
10
join.
p.m. Eastern on Discord or Patreon. You can catch it whenever you want. So.
Patreon.
But tonight is for everybody.
It's for everybody.
Yeah, and
it's a catch-all.
What are we doing on our special episode today?
I'll catch you outside. We are going to talk about Star Trek. You know why?
Why?
Because we love Star Trek.
We do.
And you know what else we're going to talk about?
What else are we going to talk about?
Religion and Star Trek.
It's almost like that goes with our podcast. Religion, that is.
Yeah.
And Star Trek. We talk about Star Trek quite a bit.
We do.
Just kind of intermix it here and there.
Yeah.
And it's one of our... It's something that we enjoy. We were both fans growing up, but not like Trekkies. Maybe not Trekkies.
We weren't Trekkies.
We were Trekkie adjacent, is what we like to say.
Yeah.
And so we're catching up on what we missed out on.
Yeah.
And
totally.
And it's fun. So, but that's that's where we're starting with this, and then we'll get into the rest of it as we go along on this episode. So.
Yeah.
All right. Are you ready to get into this?
Sure as fuck am.
Let's do this.
Okie dokie. All right, before we get into this, we need to clear up something. You refer to us as Trekker adjacent. Trekkie adjacent.
Yeah.
And I don't think you're aware of some lingo.
Okay. Probably not.
Okay, so there's a difference between Trekkies and Trekkers. Okay? Trekkies are not just fans. They can, like, quote extensively.
So it's like you with Ghostbusters.
Kind of, but like with if I were a fan of every single movie and all the comics,
yeah,
like they are all
so they read all the Star Trek books and the everything,
all the movies, all the shows.
Damn.
And they have opinions about the different races. And
can they speak Klingon?
I mean, some of them probably can.
Right.
They at least...
I'm jealous because I always wanted to speak Klingon.
They at least know a few of the common words. Okay?
Yeah, well, I know. I mean,
Trekkers?
kaplow.
Yeah. Like, they are very serious, okay? They are not a fandom so much as a cult, and they are very serious, and they don't like it when fans call themselves Trekkies, who are I am so closed gate society.
Damn.
Yeah. It's kind of like if you like a few Taylor Swift songs, don't call yourself a Swiftie. They will come for you and explain to you why you're not. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
These fan groups that get very serious about their shit, they will tear you up and they take it very seriously.
Well, if I stepped on your runabout, I apologize.
But they have kindly allowed us who are just mere fans, who are not like, I'm sorry, I don't like live and breathe it. I merely like it a lot.
Yeah, right.
You know, I can't quote it all. I don't know every episode. I don't like sometimes when I see like TNG is the next generation, right? Like sometimes when I see those little, I'm like, which show is that? Like,
see that one, I know that.
Do you know what SHO is?
I don't.
You don't, right?
Right.
I had to look it up. I had to Google what the fuck is TSSHO. SHO is shorts. There were some shorts that were released.
Huh.
Yeah. Like, this is serious business.
Okay.
You cannot call yourself a Trekkie. But, as I said, they have allowed us just mere fans.
Yeah.
Not fanatics, but fans, to call ourselves Trekkers. And that is what you meant to say when you said we are Trekkie adjacent. We are in no way Trekkie adjacent. We're not informed enough.
Right. Okay. All right.
We're merely fans.
I'm fine with that. Whatever you want to call me, that's sure. I'll accept that title for whatever Trekkie level I have.
Trekker. You're a Trekker.
Whatever Star Trek level I have acquired, I'm good with it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I will accept that.
Okay. There's another thing. When we first got together, sometimes you would say Star Trek.
Yeah.
And it drove me the fuck nuts.
Yeah.
Like, I could not. I was like, are you serious right now? And I'm not a Trekkie. I'm merely like, I like words. And track was not correct.
It was just how I know how it's spelled and everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how I said it.
I know. You didn't like, it was a group of sounds that you hadn't really like thought about. No, it is a journey through the stars. It is a star journey, a star trek.
Yeah, right.
They are trekking through the stars.
So I did that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a thing.
That was a thing. Okay, so we have all that put together.
Yep.
Okay, so let us begin now, past already having begun, with me criticizing you and explaining things to you.
Mm-hmm. You might even call it wife-splaining.
I did. I wife-splained. Why are we talking about Star Trek today? What is special about Star Trek?
Everything.
I know, right?
It's amazing. I mean, it holds up. First of all, right? Like, not the original series is a little less so.
A lot so.
A lot so.
It's so fucking sexist and rapey.
But here's to me what holds up about Star Trek is that it is the messages are very humanistic in intent. and they very much relay what it means. Like there's often big questions about what it is to be human and how to operate as a human. And something I find very interesting, doing this podcast and going through what we do, is that they grapple with the idea of religion quite a bit.
They do.
Quite a bit.
And we should say that we are currently working our way through the Star Trek series.
Yeah.
We recently, well, by recent, I mean within the last, 4 years, sometime since we started this podcast.
Right.
Separate from this, not as like an intertwining
it was not an intertwining
project or anything. It was just something we wanted to do was, hey, I watched this when I was a kid. Oh, but the original series, that was before my time, but I've seen an episode here or there. I would love to go back and watch the entire thing from the beginning.
Well, we realized we had never, there was newer shows that we hadn't watched, and we realized that we hadn't watched all the episodes from certain, the Voyager and the Deep Space Nine.
Like we thought we had seen every single of the Next Generation, which there were a couple episodes that you and I both were like, holy shit, how'd I miss that one?
At least we didn't remember them at the very
So which let's keep in mind too that when this show came out, there wasn't a lot of stuff in syndication at the time. So, or maybe syndication had just, what I'm trying to say is it wasn't necessarily easy to catch this show.
They were definitely in syndication.
But would you and I been at that age watching Star Trek The Next Generation in syndication?
I definitely watched it in syndication.
Did you really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
See, I don't know these things because I was overseas and I missed a lot of that.
Yeah.
So I missed a few episodes is what I'm trying to say.
Sure.
And it wasn't like you could just like Google, I just want to watch this episode.
Right.
So even in syndication, you had to wait for it to pop up.
Yeah.
I think that's what I was trying to get at.
Right.
So there were a few.
No, watching a show from beginning to end was a commitment. Mm-hmm. And you had to, be home at certain times.
To watch stories.
Right. Yeah.
So there were a few that we didn't see of that. And then was Deep Space Nine, and we had not seen almost any of that. I think we had seen some of the first season.
Yeah.
But then after that, almost none at all.
Right.
And then Voyager, we'd only seen a few episodes even of the first season.
Right.
Like both of us.
Yeah.
And then none of the shows after that until Discovery. And we fucking loved Discovery.
Which is counter to some people that are part of the Star Trek, Trekkies. Because they don't like that as much.
Love it.
Yeah.
And I think that Trekkies, I'm going to step on some toes here.
Ooh, you going there?
Unpopular opinion. There? I think that Trekkies are a lot like your angry atheists. And I think that those groups have a lot of old, straight, white men who do not like their brown people or their women's leading. I don't think they like the gay, and I don't think they like the non-gender they, thems. I think that a lot of Trekkies, which are going to be your older people, your boomer type fans, and I think that there is an intersection there. And you yourself have said that with regard to the atheist community, there are so many more men out atheists than women.
Yeah, we talk about it a lot.
We were
just talking about it recently.
I feel like there's a huge overlap. And it's sad because Star Trek in particular, but sci-fi in general, the ideals of these communities are so much better than any one episode or any one fandom.
Yeah.
Because
generally speaking.
Right. But the ideals of Star Trek, in like I said, in particular, are supposed to be forward-thinking, progressive, people being past all of this nonsense, being able to get along without stupidity of worrying about what people have between their legs or what color they are or what they look like.
As a side note here, I think I'm pretty sure that Gene Roddenberry was an atheist.
I have some notes on that if you would like.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. The creator of Star Trek, Gene Roddenberry, was an atheist who believed that religion would not exist in the future.
Yeah.
Oh, to be there.
What an idealistic view.
Right? He wanted to create an atheistic utopia where people could make rational decisions and exercise free will.
Yeah.
Roddenberry's vision was often critical even of religion.
Very, very.
And he believed that religion was manipulative and illogical.
Yeah. As the Vulcans would say.
As the Vulcans would say, yeah. I put a few quotes here from him. He stopped going to church as soon as it became possible for me to do things on my own as a teenager. I made up my mind that church and probably largely the Bible was not for me. I did not go back to even thinking much about it for years. If people need religion, ignore them and maybe they will ignore you and you can go on with your life.
Wouldn't that be a nice world to live in?
Right? And then a separate quote that I particularly enjoy. I condemn false prophets. I condemn the effort to take away the power of rational decision, to drain people of their free will, and a hell of a lot of money in the bargain.
Yeah.
So Star Trek remained largely secular as far as human society was concerned after Gene Roddenberry's death in 1991.
Yeah.
So you did not really see a lot of religiosity in the shows, but I would argue that, and we'll come back to that in a minute.
It definitely is we have come across it quite a bit, and it's not always like the main theme, but it's just something they'll say in the midst of the show that's like, wow, that's a statement.
That's a statement. Yeah. So one writer is quoted as saying, "We wanted to avoid religion, to be quite frank, but we did very often explore theology through alien characters, which frankly is much more interesting anyway." Whether it was the Bajorans, which those are from Deep Space Nine, and their religion, or the Borg and their religion, which we will see more of that. I see your confused face. We have not watched Picard yet.
Okay.
And the show Picard, from what I understand, has more Borg and religion stuff in it.
Got it.
Okay. So I can't speak to that.
Sure.
But anyway, to continue the quote, says, "We want to keep Star Trek secular, the human facet of Star Trek secular."
Yeah.
Which I can appreciate. I have several different not quotes, but like episode pieces that I pulled out that we could discuss. Like they talked about religion in this episode, but I'm not there yet. What I really, really want to get to before we do anything else is talk about the original movies, because those came out after the original series had been canceled.
Right.
And
right. 'Cause there was, and that's something about the original series. I always thought there was a lot more seasons. There were only 3 seasons of the first Star Trek.
Yeah.
I'm like, that was it? That's what this whole franchise is based off of, like 3 seasons. That's where all this popularity sprung from originally. Is 3 seasons of the original episode.
It's an amazing show for what it is, but it's also, like I said, very sexist and rapey.
Sure.
It's
the original series you're saying. Yeah.
It's pretty gross.
No, it is.
But it was very popular, and the movies were pretty fucking amazing.
There is the William Riker, like, where he sticks his, penis in your face.
Right.
When he steps up and like,
he was like, always standing right next to Data's face. But here's the thing, like, I feel kind of bad for him because, what's his name? Riker. What's Riker's name in real life? I can't fucking remember.
Yeah, you got me on the spot, and I can't think of it now.
Anyway,
Frakes. Jonathan Frakes.
Jonathan Frakes. Yeah. Bless his heart. He's like 500 feet tall.
Is he really?
Yeah. He's like renowned for being super duper tall.
Got it.
So it's not his fault.
So the giants in the Bible are correct. They are real. It's just it's Jonathan Frakes.
It is.
Okay. All right.
It's kind of not his fault if he stands next to you while you're sitting and his penis is in your face. It's not his fault. So, okay, but I wanted to talk about the movies real quick.
Yeah.
Because I thought somebody pointed this out and I was like, oh my God, this like blew my mind.
Okay.
Okay. So the first the first movie was called The Motion Picture, Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
Yeah.
Okay, because it was like, whoa,
right?
Right. Amazing. Okay, and
they gave us a fucking movie,
right?
Wow.
Yeah. Well, and it's about V'ger, which is Voyager, that's the name of the ship, but some of the letters got scratched off. It's searching. It's on a quest for its creator. Like, I don't know if you've seen the movie, or maybe it's been like 100 years.
It's been a long time since I've seen the movie.
And as soon as we finish up the series that we're currently working through, which is Voyager, we plan to watch the movies because we realized that we kind of forgot to watch all those.
Right.
So, yeah, in that first movie, that fucking ship is looking for its creator. Like, that's the sole purpose. Like, it doesn't realize that it's a spaceship.
Right, right.
And it's on a mission to find, basically, God. You know?
Okay.
Which, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, that one involves the Genesis Project, which is the act of creation, which is what they are doing to the planets.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So we've got a spaceship searching for God.
It was a terraforming thing.
Yeah.
Right.
So we've got a spaceship searching for God. We've got a Genesis, basically, let there be light on this fucking planet.
Creating planets, with life.
Yeah. And then in number 3, we've got, that one's the search for Spock, and we've got a goddamn resurrection.
Yeah. Because Spock died. Spock
dies and is resurrected thanks to his body being spit out onto
the Genesis planet.
The Genesis planet. Yeah. So, I mean, we've got a religion story here.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
We've got searching for God, making Genesis, and then we've got a resurrection.
And then we had whales.
Now, number 5 is The Final Frontier. And I skipped over The Voyage Home because they go into the past and get whales, which I love. That's my favorite one because...
My least favorite.
But that was my introduction into the franchise.
Sure. No, you told me that before.
Like, I have a soft spot for it. It's the first one that I saw in theater. It was just right at the right age. I watched it with my parents. We went and saw it multiple times at the theater.
Yeah.
They hated it. I loved it. It was very, like, I mean, what is more 80s than Save the Whales?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So I could see why they hated it, but I also see why me and my sister love it.
Yeah, because your parents were Reagan Republicans.
Yes.
So.
Hardcore.
Yeah.
Like, pictures on the wall.
Right.
Guys.
Yeah.
For real. I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we don't include number 4 in this. Number 5 is called The Final Frontier, and they explicitly send the ship to find God.
Okay.
And I don't remember that. I got this off of a thing.
Yeah, I don't recall that. I don't recall that either.
But that was, I think, number 5 was the last Trekkie movie I saw. Trek movie, Star Trek
original
movie.
Series.
Any of them that I saw.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So I might have seen the one where, like, the Next Generation guys.
I thought there were some Next Generation movies, but
I think there was one, and I don't remember, honestly. But as far as, like, what I can remember, number 5 was the last one that I saw that I can recall.
Got it.
So I'm very excited to head into these. But I thought that was so interesting that taking out number 4, the first 5 movies
all revolved around a God image of some type.
Some type of biblical theme.
Right. But it was more of,
very broad, but very present nonetheless.
Sure. But it wasn't about God necessarily.
The first one was. The first one,
but it was asking there's question, like, it's not like promoting Christianity. No,
it's not. But the first one was the thing is very much talking about who created me, why was I created? Are you a God? Like, it was very much God driven.
But that's different than saying it's a Christian theme.
Right.
Like, if you're saying, like, I'm just saying, like, to discuss the origins of where we came from and bringing a God into it isn't as restrictive,
right,
as talking about it in the context of a Christian God,
sure,
or whatever God,
right. No, you're right. It's very general religion, not Christian religion,
right.
And I don't know if this is a correct environment for this exact question, but I'm just going to put it there just as something to discuss at some point.
Okay.
Religion in general, like, what are we even talking about when we talk about religion and God? Like, I was talking about this before we were on mic, and Like, to me, God is there to explain the before, during, and after, which is like, where do we come from and what is our purpose and why are we here and how do we get here? And then the during is like how you live your life, your values and your morals. And then the after is like, where do we go when we're dead?
Yeah.
Right. So to me, those are like the questions that quote unquote God would answer for somebody. Right.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about God in movies or Christian God in movies or religion in movies, like, is religion separate from God?
It can be, very much so. Yeah.
So how would you differentiate those in Star Trek?
Well, I mean, religion is a belief in
like a system,
a higher power. So it doesn't have to be a God. It could be a natural higher power. It could be a AI. It could be any number of things that you could imagine that would be a religious idea of how we became the way we became.
I'm going to push back on that definition. I think that religion is the practice of praising that thing.
I don't think so.
What you're talking about is a faith. The religion is the system of practicing that faith.
Okay.
That's my understanding of the word religion. Like, you do something religiously, you do it with systematically.
I'm going to look up the definition here because I am curious what it says. But it says, so what I got here is the core elements are belief in the supernatural. This could be it could involve the belief of a god, gods, spirits, or other supernatural forces. That's the first thing it says. Practices and rituals, which doesn't have to be a practice or ritual towards a god. It could be a practice and ritual towards supernatural forces.
Right.
Or whatever.
But that's more towards the second point here that you're making is more towards what I'm saying is the practice, the system, not necessarily the belief.
Okay.
Like, what you're saying is that religion is the belief. I'm saying that religion is the system of how you practice that belief.
But it literally just says belief in the supernatural.
I know, and
that's one of the definitions.
I'm going to disagree with that, even though I'm sorry, but
okay.
I am. I'm going to disagree with that.
Okay.
I understand that by saying that, I am disagreeing with the dictionary definition, but
yeah,
I think religion is a system, not the belief.
I disagreed before I even looked it up, so I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't know what else to say.
That's fine. But I mean, I think it's worth thinking about when we're thinking about both of those in regards to Star Trek, because we're talking about their faith or their belief, any one of the characters or their races versus the practice thereof. Like, okay, let's talk about the Bajorans in Deep Space Nine, right? Like, the Bajorans have a religion, right? And they have all of these motions that they go through, and they're presented, the majority of them, as having belief.
Right. But they literally call those performative things that they do religious practices. Religious practices. Mm-hmm. As in, they believe in this god or this supernatural force or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And these are the things they do to practice that belief.
False. Those are religious practices that they go through whether or not they have the belief. Because there are people who go through those motions that don't necessarily have the belief. For example, when we first meet Major Kira, Nerys, she doesn't necessarily have a lot of belief. She's going through the motions. She gains belief through her exposure to the wormhole and through the wormhole aliens, or, whatever I'm using the scientific term that they gave it, but the prophets is what the Bajorans call them. Yeah. And she had to kind of pick one and get there. And as a Bajoran, she decided, okay, I'm going to have faith. These are prophets, not wormhole aliens.
Okay.
But she was going through the motions as a Bajoran. She was going through the religious practices.
But it's religious practices.
Right.
That's where I'm...
But she didn't have faith. She didn't have belief.
I'm going to have to just, disagree with you here.
Okay.
And I don't agree with you.
Okay.
So
I'm not sure what we're disagreeing on.
Whether or not it means belief or religious practice. You're saying that it's the motion that they go through. It's the things that they're doing.
The system.
It's, to me, religion is about the belief in whatever that system is. So
what would you call a person who goes to church and goes through all the motion and everything, but...
A closeted atheist. Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Like that.
Okay.
To me, I've never. Yeah. And the definition. I'm just going to go back to the definition. That
I see you pointing to the screen. I get it.
No, I was saying.
You're saying wrap it up and move along.
Yeah. Okay. Because this is getting very just like.
We disagree.
Yeah, we disagree. That's it.
Okay, go ahead.
What am we going ahead with? Oh. You're the one in charge with the show.
Oh, I'm the one in charge. Damn it. Why do I always have to be in charge? All right. Well, anyway, I thought that the definition of the movies being religious or Christianity not, but God, yes, whatever we're calling that, was interesting. Like I said, I pulled out some instances of religion that I thought you might want to talk about, unless there was something else that you wanted to deal with. Like the Klingons had their own
very warlike god.
Well, their
gods or whatever.
Their god was like honor based, and it was like either you're going to this place where you're honored because you died an honorable death, or not.
Right.
That was it. Kahless.
No, Kahless was one of the warriors. It wasn't Kahless.
No, Kahless was literally Kahless turns out to be. Kahless was the war god guy.
Yeah, he's a guy. It's not where they go.
Oh, no, he's the war god.
Right.
He's a god.
Yeah, okay.
That's what I was saying.
I thought you were saying that's where they went when they died.
No.
Okay.
He's a god.
Okay, all right.
He's the afterlife guy. He's the... No, not necessarily the afterlife guy.
He was an actual person that they reference. Like he's an actual person that they tell stories about.
He's a mythological Hercules.
Yes. But it sounds very much like they're just like they have historical, like they recreate the historical accounts of that battle.
Right.
So it's something that to them is very real.
They totally LARP. Klingons are LARPers. Oh my God, that's hilarious. I want to watch a Klingon LARPing session. Why can't holodecks be real?
That would be cool.
Right?
Yeah.
What would you do in a holodeck?
I don't know. Probably like whatever I want, I guess.
I mean, I would visit places. Yeah.
I mean, it would be, like I said, it'd be whatever you want. You can set up an entire world. You can set up a game. You can set up, I could, if you had a holodeck room, you could go in there and you could play tennis anytime. You could go in there and race cars. You could go in there and do whatever you want.
I would just be so boring because I would just make like these beautiful aesthetics to sit and read a book.
Yeah.
And that is very dull.
You actually probably would.
And that is so dull. And people would be like, you're wasting an hour in the holodeck. Can you just do that in your room?
Right.
All right.
So yeah, go ahead and go over some of the things that you were going to go over. Because I really the only thing that I had to add, well, it's more about what we're doing. Actually, why don't we cover it so we don't get to the very, we don't lose anybody at the very end.
Do it.
So we talk about Star Trek all the time on our podcast.
All the fucking time.
And we watch Star Trek as our backup, not even backup. We just watch Star Trek, and we're watching it from the beginning of when Star Trek started.
So we finished the original series, and we finished The Next Generation.
Yep.
We recently finished Deep Space Nine, and we're
in Voyager.
We're over halfway through Voyager.
Yeah. So, but what we've come across quite a bit is just like, we'll be in the middle of an episode, and they'll say something so profound with regard to religion or just,
politics.
Yeah, or politics or whatever.
Society.
And I can't help every time I'm like, oh my gosh, where I have to find this quote. This is an amazing quote. And then I can never find it. There's never anywhere where I can find these things. And I'm like, what the fuck? Why isn't there like a complete database of all of these fucking videos and all these short quotes? And then it dawned on me.
That you're an idiot?
That I'm an idiot and I need to create them myself.
Well, yeah.
So what I've done, I bought the first, I bought Star Trek season 1.
Yeah.
And I'm going to start there. And as we're watching Star Trek, I'm going to go back and rewatch Star Trek again. And I'm going to pull out all the Star Trek clips.
Yeah.
I'm going to get all the clips.
I'm
going to get all the good shit.
You guys.
And then I'm going to create a database with all this shit on it. And I'm going to link to it on our website. And I'm going to create a religious and science and whatever short clip Star Trek database.
And that way you can prove that I'm right and you're wrong.
What? What do we prove that who's right?
Every time you pull something out, it'll be like, oh, wife was right about that. It'll make me happy.
What would I be proving that you were right about?
Everything. Ever.
Okay.
You're looking at me so crazy, like.
Well,
what?
like where would I don't understand what you're referencing.
I'm not referencing anything. It was just supposed to be funny because, you know, I'm always right and you're always wrong.
Oh. No.
You know?
No.
No?
No.
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 Okay. Well, it was funny in my head. Stovall was the place that they went.
Stovall, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
And
for the Klingons.
Yeah, for the Klingons.
They're heaven.
But
you have to die gloriously in battle, generally.
Yeah, and so Worf was like really, really distressed that his wife, Dax, would not... Jadzia. Would not make it. Yeah. Because I guess she didn't die gloriously, ?
Well, was it him that killed her? Who killed her? It was somebody. It was one of their own crew or something like that, and it was because they were taken over by something. And anyway, she didn't die in battle necessarily, so he was worried that she wouldn't be there. And then whatever, so there's all kinds of shit with that one. But yeah,
so he had to go fight a glorious battle in her name. Yeah, which I'm like, whatever.
Right, but then she came back to life because it's a Dax, and that's a whole other thing.
It's a symbiont.
Yeah, it's a symbiont. Mm-hmm. So
it's not a Dax. Its name is Dax. That particular symbiote's name.
Oh, that's
is
right.
Dax.
That's right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So
you were right.
Oh my God, I was Trekkie just then. Just kidding. Just kidding. Watch, all the Trekkies are gonna like come after us and start sending us hate mail, and like we're gonna end up on. It won't be the government that shuts us down. It'll be the Trekkies.
Probably, yeah.
That's the way it goes.
Yeah.
So there was this whole thing about the Bajorans, remember, calling the wormhole prophets.
Yes.
And then there was that one guy, Dukat.
Yeah, the guy, the Cardassian.
Yeah.
That he was kind of like the leader. For a bit, he was the leader of the Cardassians.
He was like my favorite bad guy ever until at the end, because then he made the ugliest Bajoran. He did. He got transformative surgery to make himself look like a Bajoran, and then he was ugly. And I was like, no, stop it. Go be a Cardassian again.
Right.
I loved hating him.
Well, yeah, he was a great bad guy.
He was a great bad guy. Yeah. But then he had to go try to pretend to be a Bajoran in order to wake up the Bajoran devils so that he could like be the king of the Bajoran demon guys.
Right.
The Paul Wraiths.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he's like, king of the devils.
Somehow I don't really feel like we're doing these storylines great credit here.
No, I'm doing them great justice because I'm telling you what happened. I'm doing you justice because I'm telling you what happened.
All right.
Yeah. So he's like, I'm king of the devils. And they were like, are you though?
I think one of my favorite things we're talking a lot about Deep Space Nine because it's the one we just recently finished.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there is that religion in there from the Cardassians that are in the show.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, and because of who people are in this, like there's an unwilling prophet that's a Starfleet officer, that's a Starfleet captain. Cisco, right.
The Cisco.
And then there's Kira, who was a skeptic somewhat of her religion from her own culture at first, and then becomes more of a believer. But like between all the different characters and how they interact with religion and beliefs, there's a lot of fantastic commentary about religion and about
and
belief.
Government and people following and people choosing to believe versus just having that innate belief just always in them or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting, I thought. The way it all came together.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people hated the ending of that show. And I could see why.
Sure.
But I didn't hate it particularly.
I didn't
love it,
right.
but I didn't hate it.
Sure.
Where else could it go?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
When you make religion or faith like that part of the storyline, you're going to write yourself into a corner.
Yeah, I agree.
So, you know, there wasn't a lot of ways they could have ended it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But on the show that we're currently watching, Voyager, something just recently happened that kind of sparked this whole conversation. There's an annoying character named Neelix.
Yes.
And he's less annoying the more you watch the show because he becomes the morale officer and he's like the cook or whatever.
It's a really powerful episode, actually.
Yeah. This is, like I said, what started this whole thing. So he's kind of like simple, but always joyful.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, he kind of grows on you because you're like, God damn it, you're less annoying now. You're just kind of cute. Like he's
we love you.
He's like the mascot, right?
Yeah.
Like the dog you never wanted that could talk. And he's like very enthusiastic. He tries to please everybody. He's just like, he's in the background trying to just bring you a cup of tea.
And he's also like the most empathetic character you'll ever meet,
he's
right?
Kind,
like he's very much concerned about everybody else. He's a giver, constantly a giver.
Constantly. And that's why they kind of bestowed upon him, well, shit, man, you're going to be our morale officer, because they also realized that he was able to make inroads with these different cultures that they meet, whether he knew of them or not. He was able to...
Because he is so empathetic.
Yeah, he was able to talk with them, and so he could build trade so that, you know, he could re-up their supplies.
Sure.
So, anyway, whatever. So, he always had this belief that you don't really hear about a lot because it's just not important to his character, so much as that once you hear it explained, you're like, yeah, that tracks. He's explaining to this child who's afraid of monsters, you know, you shouldn't be scared of monsters because, you know, when you're trying to go to sleep at night, just think about the great forest. And this little girl's like, the fuck is a great forest?
Right.
And he's like, well, duh, it's, you know, where all of the loved ones that you've ever known are there looking after you. It's like very Avatar. If you've seen that movie, like The Great Tree, like... Alway, whatever her name is.
Tree of Life or
Tree of
whatever.
Life.
Anything with a tree that represents that, idea.
It's even just, it's very spiritual, you know? It's nice. It's a nice thought.
Sure.
And so this little girl's comforted and goes to bed. Yay. Well, in the course of the episode, which again, we've never really heard that faith background discussion from him, but it's not surprising. It tracks with who he is and where he comes from and why his character is the way it is.
He's like your average person who just believes in God, but doesn't really go to church and doesn't really,
just this simple thing.
Right.
You know?
And it's just
fine.
a background type thing.
Right.
It's just there.
Yeah.
Right.
And so during the course of this episode, something happens to him and he dies.
Yeah.
And it's kind of shocking.
Well,
or it would have been if the way that our system is set up, like it shows you a little bit of what's coming in the episode.
Right.
And so we knew, he's going to die and come back to life in this episode.
Just to go off on a short
fucking
rant,
annoying.
Just to go off on a short rant here. These streaming services that we're using these days do not know how to do streaming services.
They don't know how to stream old shows and commercial breaks.
They can't tell you what you watched last. They can't, like, when you try to watch the next episode, it puts you on the last episode. When they start you on an episode, they show you a clip from the middle of the fucking episode. I'm like, what are you guys doing?
And
this is so simple. How do you fuck it up on every platform?
And they can never tell when the commercial break is. Because some of them you have to watch the ads, like on Paramount Plus, right? We're watching shows on Paramount Plus. Whatever, I don't care. I mean, ads is what pays for it. Fine. I hate it, but it is what it is, right? I don't mind the ads, but the ads never fall during ad breaks.
Right.
They're just like random.
Yeah.
And whatever. It's so stupid. And I mute them because they commercials are a trigger for me. I know that sounds weird. It's a mental health thing. I don't know how to explain it to you, but you can tell if I've been taking my medication by how angry the commercials get me.
Oh, man. Yeah.
It's true. It's true. How much I yell back at the television tells you how mentally healthy I am that week.
Yeah, I could probably guess within a day or two how long it's been.
Yeah. It's true. Like, so now you know. So anyway, he dies. And if we had not had that, glitch in the system, it would have been shocking. It was very shocking nonetheless.
Yes.
Okay. So this thing happens and they're able to revive him because science,
Yeah.
and not religiously. It's pure science that revives him. It's like nanobot things from the Borg chick 7 of 9 or whatever.
Got it. Yeah.
Okay. So that's not the religious part. Him coming back to life is not religiously.
Got it.
Okay. What happens is he expected that while he was dead, he would see the great forest and that his loved ones, in particular, his sister, whom he adored, would be there waiting for him. And that never happened. Now, I had an argument to that. My argument was twofold. One, either, dude, you didn't really die if you were brought back. And, the great forest probably knew. And that's why you didn't see nothing, because the great forest knew.
Sure.
Okay. Like, following your fucking faith system. Okay. Like, I'm trying to speak your language and get in your head and comfort you. The great forest knew you weren't really dead, even though your body didn't know better.
Right.
Okay. Whatever. That is the first argument. The second argument is, you were dead. How do you know what you saw? It's not for the waking life. It's not for the alive. Maybe you did and you just don't remember it because it happened while you were dead. Okay, whatever.
Sure.
That's how I would have comforted him.
Right.
I mean, I would have been nicer about it. I wouldn't have been such a bitch, but I found the whole thing annoying. But anyway, he comes back and he's like, holy shit, religion is dead. There is no afterlife. What the fuck is the purpose of even living?
Right. Yeah.
And literally,
it's actually really dark.
It's very dark. He goes on like this suicide goodbye mission. Like he's telling people, he's recording videos, thinks it's been nice knowing you. He's like making sure every single person that he interacted with, like, has the best possible send off from him that there could ever be. And then at the end of the episode, the only thing that brings him back from the brink of death is that little girl at the beginning that he had been comforting. She needed him to come
tuck her in
at night and, make her not be scared of the monsters and to tell her the story.
Yeah, she specifically asked for the tree story.
Yeah.
His religion or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she didn't even know it was religion. She was just like, it's nice and it's comforting. I need it.
Right.
Yeah. I need you to come tell me that night story.
Right.
And so he's like, duty calls. And suddenly I'm not suicidal, which that part I did find very annoying. Like, and this is so 80s centric. Like the after school special shows were like, well, we solved alcoholism in one episode and it never happened again.
Well, yeah, like he had that call from her and then everybody just let him take off and do that thing.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just ready to like literally kill himself.
Right. And I'm like, and the rest of the story that they don't tell the audience is that Neelix was on suicide watch for the next month and had to report in to a counselor every day. And then every week, and then every month until, time had passed and they were sure that he was okay.
Right.
But they never address it again. And that I know of.
Right.
Like, I'm going to assume, I'm going to go out on a limb here and assume that it's never addressed again.
Right.
But it was that aside, the fact that it was very after school special in the 80s-esque, it was a very powerful episode.
It was. And that's what got us thinking about doing the clips. Well, I mean, I've been talking about it forever, but
you have.
That's what motivated me to actually buy the first season and resolve to actually start doing it.
Because we were sitting here just talking and talking and talking about religion and Star Trek.
Well, some of our best discussions about religion happen around Star Trek.
Yeah.
And I feel like lots of people could benefit from this.
We're not making this a Star Trek Central podcast. That's not what this discussion is. No. FYI, I don't want to scare anybody off.
But I might put a quote in occasionally.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
but we do that anyways because fuck off.
But I am going to start making it part of our social media, and I do want to like kind of store a database of it.
Well, that was something else, I think, that you were going to make a change a little bit, because you were kind of feeling down about how on social media, a lot of the stuff that gets shared is very like negative, like fuck God and fuck Jesus and religion is so stupid and you suck, which, you know, all of those things may be true and we may actually feel that way, but it's so negative.
And to be fair, you know, some of the memes that I share have contributed to that, right? Mm-hmm. Because what I was taught early on doing social media for this podcast was that this is the stuff that gets attention. Mm-hmm. That's what I was conditioned and taught. Yeah.
If it bleeds, it leads. Whatever gets the clicks, and that's how you build an audience quickly.
Right. But I really want to be more of a welcoming voice of reason than a voice that is distancing ourselves from other people.
So we want to be like less fuck religion, which I mean, definitely fuck religion.
And we're still going to say God's a dick.
Yeah.
Like that's not changing.
Still fuck religion. Okay. That attitude is not changing.
Right.
But less of that and more of, God, science is awesome.
Science is awesome. And not like, I don't ever want to be the person that calls out the believer, because the believer, there's a million reasons why they're a believer. And I don't know what that is.
Right.
I don't know those reasons. But the truth is that right now in our Discord, I think, and I could be wrong about this, but I think everybody in here other than us maybe was a believer at one point or another. Mm-hmm. Or at least most of them were.
Yeah. So, and there's one who still is.
Not in tonight.
But she is very much still a believer, and yet hangs out with us regularly and asks the good questions and lets us ask her the good questions, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
Great discussions.
Definitely. And it just, so it those are the things that kind of have been making me want to be a little bit more welcoming with our social media presence. Mm-hmm. And then go from there, because even though we say God's a dick, mm-hmm. even though we say religion sucks, mm-hmm. we never specifically say believers suck. We never say the people. We might comment on politics and religion.
I will totally admit that I do sometimes talk about how much Christians and Christianity piss me off and how much they suck. I do,
right, but that's a generalization
rail against Christians. Okay. I'm trying to be honest. I'm trying to be. I don't want to be a hypocrite about things I have said. Sure. And things that I feel.
Well, and it's hard for me to recall 4.5 years of podcasting, but
I can absolutely tell you 100%, even though I can't recall specifically, that I have said Christians suck or something to that effect.
But we also don't, if we have somebody in front of us that is a genuinely good person, we're not going to disparage them for being a believer. We know many people who are good people who are believers.
Right.
And it doesn't make them a bad person. It doesn't make them an evil person. What we're really saying when we say, fuck Christians, if I'm sure that, like you said, that's probably something you've said at some point. Mm-hmm. Generally, you're referencing the evangelical sect that is very anti-gay, that is very, hateful towards certain groups of people.
Racist, sexist, anti-trans, all of the bad, unprogressive things.
So even when we do say that, or may say that, it's not specifically a actual reference to all Christians. It's a reference to a certain type of Christian.
Yeah.
And maybe we need to be a little bit more specific. Discerning when we say that too.
Yeah.
But it's just certain considerations that we've been talking about and making with regard to how we want to come across on our podcast and through social media.
Generally just less negative and hateful and more loving and positive and welcoming.
Because I think at the core, that's who we are. Anyway.
Yeah.
So it fits who we are more, and that's who we want to be.
And Star Trek is fun.
Yeah. Definitely. Did you have anything else for us tonight?
I mean, there's a bunch of episodes that I could reference, but
I think really this was just like, we were really excited about this new project, and we are going to be, I'm going to be digging through every episode of Star Trek and coming up with clips, and I'm actually really excited about it because I think there's some great conversation starters. I think there's some
I totally agree.
Just great questions that get asked in that series.
Yeah.
And honestly, I feel like it's a good place to start with somebody if you're discussing a religion. Like, hey, maybe step outside of your Christian box and look at this question from a different perspective. And that's what, looking at it through a science fiction lens can help you do sometimes. And I'm really excited about bringing that to the table at some level, either through social media or maybe a short clip here or something on the podcast every once in a while, So
I'm going to say, since we're wrapping this up, that one of my favorite books that got me thinking about religion within a science fiction context.
Yeah.
I read in my early 20s. It's called A Choice of Gods by Clifford Simak, Simak, A Choice of Gods.
Yeah.
I highly urge you, if you are at all interested in science fiction, to give it a read. I think you will enjoy it. It is so good. And it really challenged my way of thinking, and just, how do you put religion in science fiction? That's how. It was really good. It was really good.
Well, and just for anybody that doesn't know this about us, science fiction really is a large definer of who we are. Like that's something we share together that we love. And there's a lot, like when we find something that is a commentary on religion in science fiction, like we're both like salivating over that because it's just
true.
It's usually such an insightful way to look at it. So
like some couples send each other like nudes or sexy texts, and we don't. We send each other sci-fi memes and religion stuff, and like, oh my God, I just saw this thing and this is so funny. And it's gonna be something along the science fiction or religion.
And pictures of our cat.
And pictures of our cat and kid. Yeah. That's pretty much, we're so boring. I love us.
All right. I don't think we have a lot more to say on this. So
no, I think we've said it.
You ready to wrap this one up then?
I'm ready to wrap this one up then.
All right. I know we're behind on finishing up with Micah.
Yeah, we've got a You're Always Wrong.
And the weekly replays. So we'll be getting those out probably in the next couple of days because I've got some time here shortly. So those will be out soon, and then we'll get into the next book. So we'll see you guys.
Which is Nahum.
Oh, there you go. You got it this time. Mm-hmm. All right. We'll see you guys then.
Bye.
Hey, this is Jonathan Fields, host of The Good Life Project. Today's sponsor, Boost Mobile, reminds me of what I love when someone reimagines what's possible. They have invested billions in building America's newest 5G network, becoming the country's fourth major carrier. They are doing things differently, offering a $25 monthly unlimited plan that never increases in price and letting you try their service risk-free for 30 days. With blazing fast 5G and plans for all the latest devices, they're changing the game. Visit your nearest Boost Mobile store or find them online at boostmobile.com.
Hey, wife, I guess that's the end?
But husband, that's just sad.
It doesn't have to be. We are on lots of social media platforms like Twitter. Our handle there is sacrilegious_D.
For D's nuts.
Oh my God. Stop doing that. Anyway, we're also on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. There's a link to all of our social media sites at our website.
Ooh, we have a website?
Yeah, it's sacrilegiousdiscourse.com, where you can also find a link to our merch shop.
We have a merch shop?
Yep, we have podcast-themed clothing, mugs, notebooks, and more, as well as an atheist and science-themed products.
Wow, our fans should really go check that out right now.
Definitely. They can get in touch with us by sending an email to sacrilegiousdiscourse@gmail.com. But before they do that, we could really use some help.
Oh yeah? With what?
Well, it's not free running the podcast, and we need some financial support in order to get better equipment, which will free up time so we can concentrate on our podcast and our fans.
Okay, so what should they do?
Head over to patreon.com/sacrilegious discourse and sign up as a contributor on our podcast. Supporters there receive additional bi-weekly episodes that we record just for our Patreon members for as little as $2 a month.
Also, we'd really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe on whatever platform you're using.
And Apple Podcast reviews help us out tremendously.
Like and subscribe, leave an Apple review, join us on Twitter, support us on Patreon. That's a lot of instructions. Don't forget to say thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, bye.